everyone, and welcome to 9-Inch Charge, a Warhammer Age of Sigmar and Warhammer Old World discussion channel. I hope you're all happy, safe and healthy, but most of all, I hope all your charge rolls are at least a 9. Today we're going to continue our small series on the Kurnothi in Age of Sigmar, and we're going to look at Skaeth's Wild Hunt, the warband from Warhammer Underworlds, and have a look at how it plays in Age of Sigmar, and if it's worth including in your army. As ever, if you enjoy this video, please give it a like, and if you'd like to see more content like this in the future, please subscribe. So, let's get into it. Skaeth's Wild Hunt is a unit that has 5 models. They have the Order, Sylvaneth, Oakenbrow, and Skaeth's Wild Hunt keywords, and cost 120 points. It has a move of 6 inches, a save of 5+, a bravery characteristic of 6, and they have 1 wound each, with the exception of Skaeth, who has a wounds characteristic of 2. They carry an assortment of weapons, including missile and melee weapons. So let's start by having a look at these. First up, we have the Seeker Bow, which is a range of 18 inches, 1 attacks, 3s and 4s, rend 1, damage 1. And then the Javelin of the Hunt has a 9-inch range, 1 attack, 3s and 3s, rend 1, damage 2. Whilst it's only 2 shots, they do hit easy on 3s, they do have rend, and it's nice that they do have a shooting attack. This is something that we'll cover a bit later on, because there are benefits to having shooting attacks for people who are inclined to take Skaeth's Wild Hunt in their army. In melee, Skaeth uses the Javelin of the Hunt, which has a 2-inch range, 1 attack, 3s and 3s, rend 1, damage 2. Carthion and Shiok are each armed with hunting weapons, which have a 1-inch range, 2 attacks, 3s and 4s, no rend, damage 1. And Lygian is armed with teeth and claws, 1-inch range, 2 attacks, 3s and 3s, no rend, 1 damage. There's a nice weight of attacks to this warband, and hitting on 3s will really help them. There's no mortal wound output, and there's only a little bit of rend, so they're not going to be hunting after your big, your tough top tier targets, but against smaller whittled down units or against a lone wizard, something like that, they are going to be effective, and their attacks will get through. You will want them to attack first, because their 5-up save will mean they'll get beat back pretty hard, but they are a bit of a toolbox, so let's have a look at their abilities. Firstly, there is Fleet of Foot. This unit can run and still shoot and or charge later in the same turn. I love this ability for this warband because from the models, they are all really dynamic, they are all running. I mean, one of them is literally running and shooting, so it only makes sense that they would have this rule. It helps them get where they need to go, and it helps you that even if they're not going to be in combat necessarily, they can still run past the enemy and still, perhaps do a couple pips of damage. Where I see this being really effective is if you take them outside of a Sylvaneth army and include them in a Living City army, because of the command ability Strike and then Melt Away. In a Living Cities army, you can use this command ability at the end of your shooting phase. If you do so, pick one friendly Living City unit. In the shooting phase that is more than 9 inches away from an enemy unit and wholly within 18 inches of a friendly Living City hero. That unit can make a normal move. It cannot run. A unit cannot benefit from this command ability more than once per phase. So what this means is, in a Living City army, Skaeth's Wild Hunt can make a run move, then make a shoot move, then make a normal move, and then charge, which really can propel them across the battlefield. If you really need to snag an objective from your opponent, or there's something that, a little weak unit that you want to get into and you want to run across the battlefield, this unit is really going to get there with that ability. The next ability is Magic. This unit is a wizard. Whilst it contains Carthion, it can attempt to cast 1 spell in your hero phase and attempt to unbind 1 spell in the enemy hero phase, and knows the Might of Kurnoth spell. The Might of Kurnoth has a casting value of 7. If successfully cast, pick 1 friendly Sylvaneth unit within 12 inches of the caster that is visible to them. Add 1 to wound rolls for attacks made with melee weapons by that unit until the start of your next hero phase. And this is kind of what I was talking about earlier with this unit being a toolbox. It can run and charge, it can run and shoot, it has some shooting attacks, has a few melee attacks, and it is a wizard. So it kind of does a bit of everything. Being a wizard is really beneficial, especially with such high move, because you can move up to where they need to be to cast those spells that you want. Also, they can take a spell from your army allegiance, and there are some really good ones to choose from in a Sylvaneth army. I do like the spell. I think it does have some uses. I think, I can see it being cast on a unit of Kurnothi hunters to buff their attacks in combat. I think Durthu really likes this spell. Durthu, he hits really hard with his sword, but he does only have 3 attacks with it. And now that Gerstrike is gone from the realms, he's hitting on 3s and 3s, and to get that to 3s and 2s is really useful because you really do not want to miss with that flat sticks damage. They carry the Oakenbrow keyword, so if you're taking an Oakenbrow army, that army does favour the bigger trees, so you are likely to have a Spirit of Durthu in there. Coming in at 120 points puts them 40 points more expensive than the other wizards in this army. A Branch Witch and a Branch Wraith are both 80 points each. So there is a tax that comes along with having this additional movement, with having 5 models. The points pricing is still really good, if I'm honest. This puts them only 10 points above Cities of Sigmar Battle Mage, and you've got 5 models, you've got shooting attacks, you've got more melee attacks, you've got a cheeky little run and charge. I think in a Sylvaneth army you're still going to see the Branch Wraith being favoured because the Rouse to Wrath spell is just too good. For 80 points you get a wizard that can potentially put 100 points worth of models on the table for you every turn. So, you're never going to be without that. But as a secondary caster, if you want something that can run up the table and cast regrowth and keep your forest spirits alive, keep your Tree Lord Ancient going, I think it's a really solid option. And actually, it's a unit that I am going to be using in the future in my Cities of Sigmar list for the reasons that we said before. They can carry the Cities of Sigmar spells. They're only 10 points more than my current Battle Mage, and they can do the whole run, shoot, move, charge shenanigans. So I'm really looking forward to playing with them. They're on my painting desk at the moment, and I look forward to seeing how they go. I'd really appreciate your input if you've been using them. What do you think of them, or will you be using them in the future? Leave a comment below and let me know. As ever, thank you very much for watching, and catch you next time.